Welcome to another Dragonlance Saga review episode. It is Bakukul Fiercewelt the 14th. My name's Adam, and today I'm going to give you my spoiler review of Tales Volume 3. This is of the first Tales collection, Love and War, edited by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. Now, this is, of course, an anthology of a bunch of short stories, like all of the Tales anthologies are. I don't know. I mean, this one hit me harder than any of the other two, and certainly more than the other ones that I don't really remember reading, though I'm sure I must have read at some point in my childhood. So revisiting this was a very, very interesting experience for me. Just so you know how these go, I'm going to give you my pre-written review of each of these stories, and I'll just sort of riff a little with you, of course, in the audience, but also just on maybe some of the characters or the setup or the setting. And then at the end, we'll just sort of answer questions and goof around a little bit right before I do another live stream reading the newest preview of Dragons of Deceit, which is coming up next. So we're going to have a good Dragonlance evening. It is Friday. I've had a day, man, and I'm glad that it's over. I can sit down with a glass of Zinfandel and just talk a little geeky Dragonlance with other geeky Dragonlance fans. Like me. It's going to be great, right? Maybe not. We'll find out. Chris, always great to see you. Thanks for joining live. Brent, hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining live. I agree. This is a great cover. Elmore is just the bee's knees. Now, I would like to take a moment and thank the members of this YouTube channel and invite you to consider becoming a member, if you haven't already, by clicking on the link in the description below. You can always also pick up Dragonlance gaming materials using my affiliate link. This is all Dragonlance materials from 1st edition all the way to 3rd edition, because that's all we got. But it's all there. So I'm really looking forward to exploring 5th edition when it comes out later this year. Okay. Should we get into this? Let's get into this. Let me move to the first story. A Good Knight's Tale by Harold Baxt is a tale about a storyteller who is collecting tales from people all around Krynn after the cataclysm, trying to preserve their stories. He comes across a knight who shares a tale of a man who loves his daughter but cannot abide her loving another. So he moves into the Wayreth Forest, of all obscure places, and then she falls in love with a creature in a pond, like some random creature they never identify, and sneaks out at night to meet with him. The father follows her, trying to catch them together, and eventually destroys the dam that's keeping the pond in place. Out of the dam grew 2 plants. Well, out of the vacuum of the pond grew 2 plants, the effigies of his daughter and her lover, who sank into the mud to avoid him. The father dies of sadness. Now, the knight who told this tale revealed that he too has a daughter that ran off with a man, and he is searching for her in order to give her his blessing. The tale is a great one that shares the importance of allowing your children room to grow and move on from the parents. And this is important to encourage children and support them in their choices, even if you happen to disagree with them as a parent. This is something I'm going through now. Like, just my daughter, she doesn't want anything to do with me. And it kills me inside, because in elementary school, all the way up to middle school, we would, every single school day, whether it was rain, snow, sleet, hail, whatever, we would always, hand in hand, walk together to school, give her a great big hug, tell her I love her, and send her off. And now she won't even look at me without giving me a goddamn look. You know, the look of like a kid who doesn't want to talk to their parents? That's the look I get every day. And it just tears me up inside. It sucks. So yeah, love your children, because they will not love you, I guess, is the moral of that tale. I don't know. It just hit me hard, man. It was like, okay, this guy is searching for his daughter because she fled away from him because she didn't think that he would approve, or maybe he didn't approve of the man that she chose to be with. Okay, but now he's trying to make amends and she's nowhere to be found. That is heartbreaking. Ugh. So don't ever put yourself in that position. Always support your kids. Let them fall and fail, but support them. All right, the next one. Oy vey, this one is brutal. So this is A Painter's Vision by Barbara Siegel and Scott Siegel. and it absolutely devastated me. It was completely unexpected, but welcomed. Now, I haven't read this collection since I was a kid. I only remember a few of the stories in this anthology, so when I finished this one, wiping tears from my face and reflecting back on my own child self, I couldn't imagine that I would have appreciated it the way that I do now. This story is all about love, obsessive love, friendly love, passionate and eternal love. A young painter falls in love with a barmaid who ends up marrying him. They live the life of a starving artist, forever painting and sharing his love of painting with her, each teaching her, even teaching her how to paint. When war comes to Flotsam, he paints the dragon High Lord flying across the sky with all of the other dragons. They made friends with a precocious brass dragon, and it would stop in from time to get painted and share its newest fashion choices. The painter created a portrait of the dragon and eventually decided to try and have it fly the High Lord painting to Palanthas to be sold. That night, his brother happened to appear with a terrible offer to sell his paintings. He accidentally lost control of a candle and the home went up in flames. The wife made it out, but the husband did not. This devastated her so much that she never married again. She spent the remainder of her life trying to capture the image of her husband in paint so that she wouldn't forget him. The dragon visited her throughout the years, but always asked things of her, never giving anything back to her. When he discovered her body, dead, beneath a new painting of her husband, he cast a spell to place her in the painting with him, completing what was missing from the painting all throughout her life of trying to finish it. It's even getting me now. The two of them being together. Now, I've been married for over 25 years. We're working on our 26th year at this point. And I married my high school sweetheart. So I am a hopeless romantic. I do believe in true love, and it's just something that it's a part of my life. So why, I completely bought into the story of how this painter and this woman desperately loved each other. It is devastatingly sad, this story. I mean, I thought the previous story was bad, but this one was like a whole new realm of just plunging me into this weird depression for no reason, only because I'm getting this biofeedback from the sorrow of this wife. It was so beautiful and so sad. I just absolutely loved it. And I couldn't help but reflect on my own marriage and, the connection that we have, and what if one of us died first, or of course someone's going to die first. The odds of us dying together is slim to none. So, I would like to think that if I died first, I'd like to think that my wife would move on, find someone else to love, enjoy whatever life she has left. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, life is short. We don't have a lot of time here. So rather than spending it hating everyone else and being angry and frustrated with other political parties, why not just focus on the things that bring you joy and happiness instead, right? So if you lose someone, cherish the memories you had together, but find someone else who you would like to spend some time with. Don't just abandon the idea of living life like this woman did. And I can't really fault her, because she did find the love of her life and she didn't want to move on. She just wanted to stay there. But I can't help but feel that is poisonous. That is toxic to what it means to be alive, especially with the reality that it's such a short life that we have. I don't know. It made me think, and it was beautiful. It was a great, great story. The next one here, Hunting Destiny by Nick O'Donohoe, is a long tale about the Forest Master, the White Stag, and the spectral minions that the companions came across in Dragons of Autumn Twilight while traveling through Darkenwood. It reflects on the tale of the stag and the spectral minions' betrayal in their past, and with the tone of a classic fantasy, it's replete with poems and narrative of the betrayal of the stag and Forest Master, who refuses to love him. I don't feel like I wrote that. I'm reading it now, and it doesn't make sense. So the stag demands that the Forest Master, who is a unicorn, loves him. And the Forest Master says, look, I can't love you the way you want me to. And so the stag wants to get revenge on her. If you're not going to love me, you're not going to love anyone. we've all seen douchebags like this in life. Like if they don't get their way, or it's like incel 101, right? So incel stag goes, and this is the white stag that like lured the companions, you know, and supposedly lured Huma himself as well. He ends up being a total douche. Who would have thunk? So this incel white stag, after being rejected by the forest master, goes and finds the companions leaving Darkenwood, you know, from like Pegasus flying away, and then sees draconians who came after them, hunting them, presumably from Solace or wherever. It tells the draconians, look, if you guys want something really great for your Dark Queen, forget those losers over there. How about you find a unicorn? Huh? Wouldn't that be great? Go kill this unicorn. I'll lead you to her. So the forest master says, I don't want to have sex with you. I don't want to be with you. And the stag says, okay, then I'm going to have you killed. Okay. Just crazy. But that's the story. That is literally the story. So he lures the draconians over to the unicorn, and he's like, all right, there she is. Take care of her. And the unicorn is like, you know, this isn't going to really turn out how you like. And she turns him into the unicorn. And so the draconians start chasing him. And so he's hightailing it through the Darkenwood, runs across the spectral minions, and they're like, what the hell's going on? What are you guys doing? And he's like, they're going to kill me. We've got to fight. You know, we had all this. And the whole time, it's all talking about this mysterious betrayal that they have to live night after night, which presumably is this very betrayal that he just enacted. And so in order to stand up and end the cycle, he finally admits that, okay, you know, I'm the bad guy here, which, yeah, duh, you are the bad guy. And the spectral minions end up killing all the draconians, thereby fulfilling their destiny. The white stag dies from wounds and fulfills his destiny, and everyone is happier in the end, I guess. It was weird, man. It was really weird. I didn't expect the incel stag reaction betrayal thing. I thought that was a weird choice as an author. And talk about the way you present a character that goes back in legend all the way back to the Age of Might with Huma. You make that a douchebag? Like that guy? That's the one? I don't know. It was weird, man. All right, what is wrong with these losers that pop in and just invade our Dragonlance nerddom? What is it with that? I don't understand that. They're like, we got to sell our garbage. Okay, so it was weird. Overall, I actually did really enjoy this story a bit. It struck me as really strange, really weird choices narrative-wise, and it completely recontextualized the White Stag, is all. I'm just glad that they didn't have AR-15s, because that stag would have went to a school, like an elementary school, for sure. Because that's who that stag is. All right, next one. Is that the next one? That's not the next one. That's the next one. Hide and Go Seek by Nancy Varian Berberick. Now this, at its heart, is a tale about Flint's parental love for the companions. Tasselhoff was in the wrong place at the wrong time and ended up being abducted as a thief, and a goblin kidnap a Salaminic Knight's son in order to ransom him off, but ultimately they're going to murder him anyway in revenge for the Salaminic Knight having cut off the thief's hand for stealing. Who would have thought? So Taz ends up leaving a trail for his friends to follow as they leave to attend a wedding at Flint's old home. The captives narrowly escape as the companions finally locate them and together rescue them after nearly losing both Caramon and Taz in the process. The thought of losing them changed Flint's mind of continuing his summer vacation travel plans and returned home to Solace. It was a beautiful and salient story now that I'm a father and I understand exactly what Flint feels. I never knew being a parent meant constant worrying for the rest of my life. I mean, it's bad enough that all of your hard-earned money disappears, but the kids have to take your peace of mind as well. Apparently the answer is yes, because it's rough. I just love the idea. You know, we all knew that the companions saw Flint as their loving old grandfather, right? That's pretty much how they portrayed him. But to see Flint care so much for the health and welfare of his companions, the innfellows, that he would abandon his entire summer plans just to try to keep them safe for just a little bit longer, all the while knowing that any choice he makes to save them or to protect them from themselves, as every parent knows, is in vain, because kids are going to do what they're going to do no matter what. They're going to fail. They're going to fall down. They're going to get hurt. In this particular case, they're going to get kidnapped by some weird thief. So you can't protect your kids from life, but you can be present and available to them. And ultimately, I'm hoping that that is a better alternative to trying to stifle them and keep them in a cage. Because the cage would be a lot easier. Like, my parents tried to keep me in a religious cage. Didn't stick, and I rebelled against it. But I feel like this is a better way, you know what I mean? Hey, Michael, thanks for joining live. Catching up again on all the info. Enjoying the Darkness Falls campaign. Oh, good. I hope you do. I had fun doing it. All right, so this next one, what is this? This is the measure. Okay. If there are any stinkers in this collection, in this particular collection, I think this is as close as it comes to it. So By the Measure by Richard A. Knack is a tale about a knight of Solamnia who's trying to bring honor back to his order through his actions. He confronts the dragon army in an effort to stop or stall them from sweeping through the region. He's captured and tortured for 4 days before being granted death, and ultimately dies in battle against the commander. He is then buried with a holy medallion which causes a plague and decimates the army. I thought it would have been an homage to Huma, as was referenced in the story, if he slew the commander and then died in the process of the battle. Then the plague could once again take care of the rest of the army. His death was expected and entirely anticlimactic. It did remind me of the brotherhood one finds in the military, however, echoed by the knights succumbing to Paladine's will. So soldiers regularly put their health and welfare in the hands of other soldiers next to them. They trust that they'll have their back and that it's echoed in all of the soldiers around them. And that is echoed in the faith that the knights have in their gods. In real life, it's ostensibly faith in your fellow soldier. That part of it, I thought, rang really true and was a bit of a beautiful underlying message, but overtly, they lead you to believe this is going to be a heroic end. And even the guy who ends up killing this Solamnic knight expects it to be a heroic last battle, even though he knows he's going to murder him because he's been tortured for 4 days. But the Solamnic knight insists, and as a reader, you're reading it thinking, oh, he's just going to get one great shot off, by like Paladine's might or will or whatever, and then he's going to succumb to the wounds and die. But no, he just freaking stops fighting and then dies. Like, what? I don't know. It was a weird end to what could have been a really heroic story. You know what? That is not the most stinker of stories. That's actually the Huma story in this collection, but we'll get to that in a second. All right, so the next one. The Exiles by Paul B. Thompson and Tanya R. Carter. Now, this is a tale of Sturm Brightblade and his mother fleeing Solace, but they're captured by pirates as they sail to Abanasinia, and they're taken to an evil wizard's island who wants to use Sturm as, he wants to use his blood, but he wants to use him as an ingredient in a potion of vitality to sort of restore his youth. Sturm was given a magical cord that the sailors use like a scroll to create wind for sailing, and as the wizard came down with his dagger, it struck the cord, and it ended up blasting, sort of like Jedi Force pushing things away. It blasts this wizard away and ends up killing him and saves Sturm. The pirates native to the island, now free of the wizard's rule, agree to take Sturm and his mother to Solace. And this was all about how noble men and women see the world and interact with it. It actually really bothered me. I can't stand anyone who puts on airs, regardless of their income or perceived class. The only person that is remotely tolerable in this story is Sturm himself. I actually really also like the female pirate that captured him. She has a strong mercenary vibe that has echoes in Kitiara in my mind. And it was a nice foreshadowing from when Sturm would have to deal with Kitiara on his way back to Solamnia when the companions split up for their 5-year sojourn, right? On his way in exile from Solamnia, he meets this incredible female empowered fighter who then spurs his sexuality, even though he's too young to really understand what it means. But they clearly lead you down that path in this story. And then he is then seduced by the same type of woman on the way back to Solamnia years later. I don't know. There's something poetic and beautiful about that. Maybe it's just me. Hey, Lady Kepra. I hope I said that right. Thanks for joining live. And yes, yay, Dragonlance. All right, this next one, Heart of Goldman. This is another one that really hit hard. It was just beautiful. Heart of Goldman by Laura Hickman and Kate Novak is a fantastic tale about how Goldman and Riverwind fell in love. And Goldmoon came to realize that the gods of her tribe, the Quayshu, her ancestors, are false. And that the old gods, the true gods, are still out there. It sets up the treachery of the tribesmen of the Quayshu, the stubborn blindness of tradition, and the power of love. It's the power of love. Huey Lewis would be very proud of this one. Goldmoon learns that her would-be courtier sabotages Riverwind, and his father wants to be chieftain so badly that he's willing to resort to the murder of Goldmoon to see it done. His son, the would-be murderer son, chooses instead to try and force Goldmoon to marry him so that he can be chieftain. Then again attacks her when she refuses, only to be saved by Riverwind. They both enter an ancient temple of Mishakal where their ancestors are buried, and Goldmoon's mother's spirit appears before her to tell her the truth about the gods. We know what comes after, and it is a wonderful moment to see the beginning of their connection together. I also felt like I was basking in this strange afterglow of their love as I read about their passionate embraces and kisses. It really reminded me of my wife and I in our youth. It was absolutely beautiful. I desperately loved this story. All right. Chieftain's Daughter. That's right. You like Kate Novak? I do too, Silverwolf. Thanks for joining live, by the way. This was a great story. It really, really was. And, you know, sometimes when people are trying to pull off romance or entanglements when it comes to matters of the heart, it comes off overly cheesy or not really believable. The little bit that was in this, when they're trapped in the dark together, holding on to each other, finding that true final connection. And we get this window into Goldmoon's mind about how she's done pretending. She doesn't want to put on airs anymore. She just wants Riverwind now in the most carnal of ways. And he's staving her off. He's like, I want to be with you more than anything else, but we have to do it in the traditional way of our tribe. I have to ask your father if it's okay. And if he refuses, which we know he will, then I'll go on a spirit quest to win your heart. And then we'll be able to be married officially in all the light of our tribe's legacy, or not legacy, but traditions. I thought that was beautiful. She's living by tradition her entire life. And in the end, when she finally finds true love, at the gravity and the moment when she's almost going to die, she doesn't care about tradition anymore. The only thing that matters is the connection that they share in that moment. That's all that matters in life, period, are the connections we make and what we do with those connections. It's stunning. I thought it was a beautiful story. All right. Next. Yeah. We all know this. We all know this one. This is why everyone bought this novel. Okay. Racelands Daughter by Margaret Weis and Desiree Despain is a great tale that I wish was true. I find comments even recently that some do still believe that this is canon, that he actually has a daughter. And I like that idea. Keep it a myth, a question, a possibility among fans. So a mysterious woman arrives at the inn in the middle of a blizzard and is rescued from brutal would-be rapists, which is a weird theme amongst Dragonlance, by Caramon and Raistlin Majir. Raistlin removes the scarf from the woman's face and is struck by her beauty, and that she doesn't age. She is in fact an Irda ogre, the most long-lived and beautiful of all of the races on Krynn, and they're both overcome by a magical force known to the Irda. They must mate... for real, in order to remove the curse. Talk about a great curse. Like, if you have to curse someone for something, you know, have it be that. You're going to be forced to have sex with someone that you find attractive. Oh, darn it. Why? You know? All right, so Raistlin and Caramon flee into the night to take refuge in a cave, and the woman sends Caramon off chasing a magical light as she enters the cave. She reveals everything to Raistlin, and they have sex, sleeping into the early morning. She leaves and returns to the inn, asking for work. She ends up dying in childbirth, and the child is collected by the woman's brother and father, but her body is left behind. Now, I'm not a fan of forced copulation, whether it's from a curse or just real-life horror. It's just this, I don't know, the autonomy of self is really important in my life, and I can't imagine violating that. However, in the context of the story, it's kind of interesting. All right, I said it. I also got a bit teary-eyed when they shared the reaction of the inn workers of her death. You know, again, human connections, it's a really powerful thing. And even though it's someone that just sort of came into his business and begged for help, he didn't even really want to hire her on, but everyone else sort of fell in love with her. And she ended up working her ass off and becoming a huge asset to his business. So much so that they all learned to know her and love her as a human being. And then she just dies in childbirth, which is something that happened a lot not too long ago. So maybe if there's anything that comes out of this short story, it's our appreciation of the medical industry. Because if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for sanitation and health care and, actually like soap, there would be a lot fewer women in this world. Just saying, it's a reality. A lot of them died in childbirth. That's why you always ran across, in family trees, there was always second and third marriages with like 5 kids. Because women died in childbirth and the man had to remarry so that the woman could take care of the household and the kids and the man could go work in the field or in a factory. That's just how life was, which was terrible, it's horrible. You find someone you love, you do the most powerful thing of creating life from nothing with them, and then they die. How shitty is that? Oh, man. All right. Anyway, I thought it's a great story. Everyone loves this story. Everyone wants Raistlin to have an heir, and they tried to sort of ham-fist Palin to be, the next in line, the son or the daughter, and, Dragons of Summer Flame sort of teased you. Is it Usha? Is Usha Raislin's daughter? But no, he doesn't have one. He would have remembered having sex, no matter how bad the sex may be in your life. You will always remember that you had it. So for Raistlin not to remember, and Caramon, who was supposedly there through the whole thing, except for actual copulation, you'd think they would remember, right? But no, it's all fake. Okay. Next story. Let's do this next one. I agree, Silver. I think Usha was a total wasted character. I mean, they gave her purpose, but after Summer Flame, she just became the housewife. And the nagging housewife to boot. That's the worst part. I don't know any women who are nagging housewives. I'm sure they exist. I'm sure they're out there. A woman after childbirth in Dragonlance is kind of frustrating, It happened to Tika a little bit, even though she had really good reason to be naggy. But for Usha, for that to be her destiny, ugh, gross. All right, what is this one? This is Silver and Steel by Kevin Randall. This is yet another tale of Huma defeating the Dark Queen. Now that the Legend of Huma is out, I don't think it was out by when this story was released originally. It completely reneges this entire story. So this centers around the final battle that they face off against the Dark Queen. So the Dark Queen Takesis was being given power on Krynn because of an obelisk. And after decimating Huma's army, raising the dead to continue fighting him, out of desperation, Huma threw the Dragonlance at the obelisk. And wouldn't you know it, it destroyed it. Now the description of the gory details of a vicious battle were great. But Huma has a silver dragon that he didn't even ride in the final battle. It was so weird because it had the silver dragon like changing into a human or, like an elven looking woman. And I think it actually says human. And then changing back into a dragon and then changing right back into a human again. Like that was it. She was a dragon for like 1 second. But she's a dragon. If you're fighting a battle with the hordes of the Dark Queen and you have a Dragonlance, why wouldn't you get on the damn dragon and fly to, to the Dark Queen and just like stab her in the face or something with a Dragonlance? I don't get it. It made zero sense. I am convinced that you cannot write a really good Huma story. I know some of you are going to like freak out because you love The Legend of Huma more than any other Dragonlance novel in the world. Awesome. I'm glad you do. I don't. I thought it was okay. It was okay. But there was a lot of little narrative tricks in order to make Huma survive and continue on. Huma died in that like 3 times. And then he just woke up being wrapped up and healed. It doesn't make any sense. Like, that's like Richard Haynack's fallback plot device. They pass out and then they wake up being taken care of by someone. But in real life, if you're drowning in a river, you don't wake up. You just float away. In real life, you just die. And I know this isn't real life. It's a stupid fantasy novel, but it's just not good. It's not as good as it could be. And I think the best we ever get of Huma is the poem in Dragons of Autumn Twilight, where it's talking about that now we know is an incel white stag who goes on a revenge spree against a unicorn that doesn't love him in every sense of the word, leading him to a grove to find and inform, I don't know. The whole thing is just weird. It was a weird story. It didn't mean anything because we know it wasn't the official story anymore. And it didn't make any logical sense either. But it did break down the scene of battle really well. And so I'm sort of torn. Do I like it only because of the battle? Or do I hate it because it treats Huma like a friggin' idiot? I don't know. Didn't Huma ride the dragon against Achesis in Legend of Huma? Yes. Which was great. Which was a great scene. I mean, he did a little bit like weird lightsaber stuff with the Staff of Magus when he was captured by I can't remember his name right now because I'm frustrated. Galen Dracos, which was also weird. But I don't know, man. That whole book was just sort of strange. It's like a fever dream. That's what The Legend of Huma, the novel, is. It is a fever dream. This story is a nonsensical tale. Like, we know how it ends, right? We know that Huma's going to die. We know that Achesis is going to be banished. Then we know how it starts. But it's the in-between stuff that we can never get a really good story out of, no matter what. It sucks. It's really frustrating as someone who loves these books because you want to love it, but you can't because it's just not good. All right. I'm going to stop ragging on it. There we go. Here's the next one. From the Yearning for War and the War's Ending by Michael Williams. Now, if you'll remember my review from the previous 2 novels in the Tales trilogy, Michael Williams has only done poems in those 2. And I had said that I was underwhelmed by them. I wasn't really impressed with his writing, even though I do like some of his actual novels and his other writings. It's just they didn't really land for me. This story landed. It was great. And it was a great ending to this entire collection. Okay, so it's a wonderful story framed around a blinded soldier who fought in the battle at the High Claris Tower. He's writing by telling a nurse what to write to his younger brother, who is excited to enter the knighthood and fight on behalf of the Knights of Solamnia himself. It gives a ground-level view of the war and the gritty reality of life that the foot soldiers and the cavalry had to deal with. It also provides a view of the crumbling High Claris Tower that we don't really get in any other story. This was a beautiful treatise on what it means to be a soldier. For as he is describing the mission, he's also describing the downtime of storytelling and games. It reminds me of my time in the army, in a good way, and of all those war stories you watch or read about on the perspectives of the soldiers. It closes with the idea that no matter how sad or horrid the conditions of war are, if called upon, the soldier stands up and fights again. And they will always do that because that's what they are in their core. They are soldiers. And that is the truth of the soldier. They sacrifice their freedom for ours. I cannot think of a more noble profession and a more beautiful story to tell that harsh, sort of sad story of the soldier. It was just so great. It also sort of made me think of Metallica's One video, if you guys ever watched that back in the day, which is badass. I highly recommend it. But it was so good. Let's see. They never explained Usha has gold skin, though, but they made it clear that she wasn't Raceland's daughter. Yeah, that's the other part that was really weird, because none of the other Irda had gold skin. So, but in this story, it wasn't gold skin, it was golden eyes. And so you're like, well, okay, well, it's clearly not her. Let's see. You liked reading the second generation. You wish there was more stories about kids and their companions. I agree. I wish there was much more of those. DL fans catching up again. Let's see. You enjoyed Goldmoon in the War of Souls trilogy. I think Goldmoon had such a wonderful story arc. You know, even though it was sort of reneged from the Dragons of a New Age final end of Goldmoon where she died. And then the game designers called her and they're like, hey, I know you just killed her. She's coming back. And Jean Ray was like, okay. Like, I got to rewrite my story or just leave it. Like, what do you want me to do? They're like, no, leave her dead, and then we'll have everyone, you know, approach her and be like, bitch, wake up. Or something to that effect. It's crazy. You think Usha is Raceland's daughter. Everyone is lying. Hey, whatever you got to believe, man. I dig it. Thanks for joining live, by the way, Trees. That's what I love about all of these tales and all of the, like, I just had someone hit me up recently about how my early videos of the age of the creation of Krynn was wrong. And it's because he was referencing the changed age of Krynn from Dragons of Summer Flame and onward. And one thing that you realize once you've read Dragonlance for more than 10 minutes is that everything has changed. Lord Soth's story has changed dramatically. Huma's story has changed dramatically. Istar, the King Priest story, has changed dramatically. Even the creation of Krynn has changed dramatically. Chaos and the gods has changed dramatically. Like, everything has changed. Mina! So, if you think you know Dragonlance, wait 10 minutes. Because it's going to change. It's going to change for sure. The untold love story of Riverwind and Goldmoon. Bitch, wake up. I was saying that. I was like, all right, who's going to take offense to me saying that joke? I'm glad no one has yet. I'm sure someone will, or at least pretend to. Let's see. Weis and Hickman changed their minds in history. Yeah. Well, we're going to get into that again in my next stream that's right after this one. Because there's some stuff in there that it doesn't make much sense. But we're going to get into it then. All right. And they will change it again. I guarantee it. Everything changes in Dragonlance. Okay. All in all, this is a wonderful way to close out the First Tales trilogy. And I am glad that I revisited it. If you are a Dragonlance fan or just a fantasy fan of short stories, I think you will be pleasantly surprised by most of these tales, especially in adulthood. Because the love stories and the war stories really hit on a totally different level than they ever did when I was a kid. I mean, I thought French kissing was the pinnacle of sexuality when I was reading this. You know, I was like, oh, you use your tongue? That's weird. You know, who does that? But that's, you know, that's our mentality that this is written to. And then we grow up and we're like, oh, that's what the author meant. Okay, I get it now. It's different. Anyway, that's going to do it for this review of Love and War, Dragonlance Tales Volume 3. What do you think of the anthology? Did you have a favorite story in the collection? You can email me at info@dlsaga.com or leave a comment below. I would like to take a moment and remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified about upcoming videos, and click the like button. This all goes to help other Dragonlance fans learn about this channel and its content. And this channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga. I'd like to thank you for joining me in the celebration. My name is Adam with Dragonlance Saga. Until next time, which honestly is going to be like 5 minutes. Slàinte mhath. It's a War of Souls trilogy.